according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If we are all able to, can we please rise and face the east for the Moorish American prayer? And when we are rising and facing the east, we are in the cactus pose. Two fingers to the right, five to the left, feet at 90-degree angle, standing on our square. And please repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth,
Truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, true Ali, Amen. Islam. I would like to announce that this meeting is now open. I rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. Honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. Honors to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our prophet. Honors to all Adept sheiks and all faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. Honors to the first Supreme Grand Sheik appointed by the Prophet, Brother Emil. Honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheik, Kinu Umar Bey. Honors to our Grand Sheik, Lloyd Douglas L. Honors to all officers, all members, all Muslims on this call, and all Muslims on the planet. Brother Secretary Jackson Bey, if you are able to, can you please read the Divine Constitution and bylaws?
Islam, Islam, brother, Islam, Islam, brother Chairman. I rise giving all praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honor to the forefathers and foremothers, and honor to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line for necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois. USA, Islamism. Peace and love, Muslim. Happy holy day.
Islam, brother, and gratitude. Happy holiday to you, brother. This is Lashea L. If you are able to, can you please read the additional laws for the Moorish American?
Islam. I rise and give all praise to the great Father God Allah. I give honors to the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Marcus Messiah Garvey, the forerunners of the Prophet. I give honors to all Muslims on the call and all Muslims around the world. Questionary and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all business, each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the grand sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their Adept meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which would go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the more uplifting funds because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able, in finance to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I would have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we're to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must properly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. And let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this set government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and mind pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam. Happy Holy Day, Muslims.
Islamism, sister, and happy holy day to you. Gratitude. Islam, Grand Sheik, if you are able to, can you please read a divine warning by the Prophet for the nations?
A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights, unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law, in the city hall, and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet.
Islam, Grand Sheikh, and gratitude. Happy holiday, Muslims. I hope all is well. I will be activating the Holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble Prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest planes of life with his Father God, Allah. Know thyself and Allah, the genealogy of Jesus, life and works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa, in the land of Egypt. Noble Drew Ali, the prophet and founder of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science to redeem the people from their sinful ways. Islam, Islamism. And again, happy holy day. We will be covering and building on chapter 44, misery, holy instructions about a prophet. And right before we go to that, I just want to just put a few things in the minds of Moorish Americans and we as members, officers, we all share the same divine goal and accordance. And I just, just want to bring us on that as far as staying on the higher self, staying on the aspect of our prayers and our meditations, staying on the aspect of staying on the higher self and conquering the lower self. And again, lower self is a great servant, but is a horrible master. Islam. And at that point, I would like to yield the floor to our Grand Sheik uh, to demonstrate chapter 44, Islam.
Islam, praise Allah on this holy day. I want to say gratitude to our chairman, Brother Cole Bay. Before we really go into the chapter, though, I need to just say a few things. I want to make sure that I rise and give praise to Allah, our creator, sustainer. I want to also give honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and honors to the founder, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to extend honors to our national leader, Brother Kenu Bey, and honors to all the faithful members of Temple 30, Islam, all faithful Muslims also holding to this holy day, Islam. And, just wanted to say that. And, yes, we will be discussing chapter 44, holy instructions from the prophet, misery. Um, we want to make sure that everyone comes away from this meeting with a thorough understanding of how to use these divine instructions to empower yourself to pull out your divine potential for each and every one of us. These instructions are put in here so that we can realize our full potential. This isn't just silly talk. It's not just stuff that was just put in here to fill up a book. These are divine instructions. All right. And in this chapter, it's exploring, it's going into the paradox of human nature. It's a paradox. Just us being here, with these physical bodies in this world, it's a paradox. And the nature that we have with this dual nature, higher and lower self. So even though we were created with the potential for divine wisdom, for divine joy, we tend to embrace sorrow. And it's often of our own making. That's a part of this paradox of this human life, this human nature. We were created with unlimited potential. There's no cap on us. Right? People always saying no cap, but we literally say no cap. We don't have any limit on us. No limitations. Hang on. Why? Because in our reality, our divine truth, we are neither the body nor the soul. We are spirit and one with Allah. And so the prophet gives us these divine instructions, these holy instructions, so that knowing that you're neither the body nor the soul, your spirit and one with Allah is not just something to say. We actually become it. This wasn't put here to let you know about something that you'll never attain to, something that's impossible to do in this world. No, it's possible, and we're going to do it. And so when you look at this paradox too, right? We were created with potential for divine wisdom, for divine joy, but we embrace sorrow. And it's sorrow that we created for ourselves. When we look in chapter 7 in the Moorish Holy Koran, chapter 7, verses 11 through 12, it says, Now, this was a discussion between Jesus and Lamas, and Jesus is explaining to Lamas the meaning of truth. In verse 12 and 13, it says, and Jesus said, man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is the breath made flesh, speaking about the holy breath. So truth and falsehood are conjoined in him, and they strive, and naught goes down, and man as truth abides. So eventually, this falsehood will go down. And the truth, man as truth, will be all that is left. Meaning that everything that we go through, trials and tribulations, over time, it's only happening so that the truth will be unveiled. All of this, everything, it's all happening so that the truth can be unveiled. And so this is where we're at now, right? Even here on this holy day, Temple 30, while we're going over chapter 44, right? Holy instructions on misery. Everything that's happened is to help lead us to this point so that we can finally subdue the lower self and set things straight. So when we look in here, the prophet put this lesson in here to awaken us, right? To awaken our minds, to let us know the root of suffering, the real root of suffering. And the emphasis in this chapter is that this misery is not some external thing. It's not something that's being done to you. It's not by them and they and all that stuff. It's internal. It's a product of the unmastered desires. Carnal desires being out of control. Unmastered passions that are within us. So we get this divine call to subdue the lower self, right? To break the illusion. And the illusion is this glorified pain. Stuff that we thinking about bringing into our own existence, manifesting, pulling, misery out of our own thoughts and bringing it into the manifest. And Islam, I see our chairman, brother, I yield the floor.
Islam Grand Sheik, I just wanted to camel back and just go on that on chapter 7, measure 9. The things we see are but reflexes just appearing while the ethers vibrate, so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. Islam, you know what I'm saying? And then 18, the ethers cause these powers to be a thought of Elohim, of the angel man, and other thinking things, direct the force when it has done its work, the power is no more. Islam. The reason why I said these two things, because going through the divine ministry, I'm trying to bring all of us. We are Temple 30. We are all Moorish Americans. All temple are one temple, and we are all unity temples. One thing on these measures I'm trying to bring home before we even go into 44 is the fact that when you feel and see this, Morse, and our measurements on Fridays and Sundays, when you see and feel this is the connection that we all have as brothers and sisters while we going on this demonstration and building on being a better self. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, brother, and gratitude. And just going back to what you said, right? On chapter 7, verse 9. The things we see are but reflexes just appearing while the ethers vibrate so and so. And when conditions change, they disappear. Once again, like the brother speaking on here, we create all of this stuff. Everything is happening in our lives, right? Me and the Moabites were watching the movie Final Destination, the new Final Destination Bloodlines, right? Movie just came out, and we noticed something in there, right? So in this movie, and it's, I guess you could say, spoiler alert. I'm not giving away the ending or nothing, but in this movie, all right, you have the characters who are living their lives. Everything's fine. Everything's cool until they start thinking about how everything's messed up. You about to die. As soon as they start thinking about how they about to die, I mean, like literally, just an hour before everything was straight. Nobody was trying to kill them. Nothing's going bad. But as soon as they start to buy in and realize that they about to die, everything goes to hell. Like literally, like you see in the pictures, everything falling apart. Death is trying to kill them. Stuff is flying at them. This girl's jogging. She gets knocked into a trash can. It dumps her into the dump truck, and it's about to crush her. Like, it's crazy stuff. But everything starts literally falling apart as soon as they put their minds on that. As soon as they start to think about, how everything's going bad, boom, it all really, literally starts to fall apart. Okay, and it's just an example once again of how we think. We bring this stuff into our reality. I just wanted to hit on that real quick. But Islam, sister, it's all, the power of focus. What we thinking about? Because like in the movie, these people are literally, okay, cool. They even, they in situations where they could get hurt. Ain't nothing happening. But as soon as they start to think, oh, it's coming to get you, boom, it's over. Now everything's trying to kill them. All right. Just a simple example, but let's go ahead and go into chapter 44 on misery, because this is what it's doing. Now the prophet is challenging us. It's like, okay, you can be a victim. Everybody else is a victim. Everybody else is a vic. They getting picked on. They getting taken advantage of. The system's against you. Everybody's trying to do you in. Nobody wants you to rise up. Everybody else is a victim. Okay. But the prophet is switching our mindset up to being adepts, to being, masterminds. And as a mastermind, you can't be a victim out here. You're a creator, right? You can't be a victim out here. Everything's changing. Everything's switching. That goes back to chapter 12. All right. So in the Moorish Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, chapter 12, verses 7 through 12, when Jesus is teaching the common people at a spring, he's telling them how to obtain eternal happiness. He's giving them the secret. It says, the man replied, of heaven we have heard, but then it is so far away. We must live so many lives before we can reach that place. And Jesus said, the way he's coming in, like, this is where you're wrong. This is where you're wrong, man. You need to listen up. My brother, man, your thoughts are wrong. Your heaven is not far away. It is not a place of metes and bounds. It's not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. This really comes and separates us from a lot of people. This is why, we can't really, and I have to be careful with how I say this, but we can't really take instructions, from a spiritual perspective on too many other people from other religions. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't any people that are spiritually aware that understand this same understanding regardless of what religion they are, right? You have to listen to people. If, you're listening to see that, hey, do they know the secret? Do they know that man is not the body nor soul, he's spirit and one with Allah? If they know that, then it doesn't matter, right? You can listen to them. But we can't really take instructions from other people because for the most part, it don't matter if they're Muslim, don't matter if they're Christian, don't matter if they go to church or go to the mosque or not. None of that stuff. Doesn't matter if they're, Jew, Hebrew, whatever they claim. If they're thinking that it's all some outside thing out there, they're wrong. Their thoughts are wrong. Now, I'm not here to tell them that, especially not in that way, but they can't tell us nothing. Now, next verse tells you why. Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and we make our own. We're creators. We make our own heaven or hell. Now cease to seek for a heaven in the sky. Just open up the windows of the hearts and like a flood of light, a heaven will come and bring a boundless joy. Then the toil will be no cruel task. And when he's giving the people the truth, they're amazed. They gathered close to hear this strange young master speak. Why was he strange? Because he's the only one telling them the truth. Other people had scriptures and, they've been meditating for years and they couldn't even tell the people the truth. The people were so, amazed. They're employing him to tell them more about the Father God Allah, about the heaven that men can make on earth. about the boundless joy, right? You don't have to suffer here and you get yours, when you die. All that mess, right? It's like, no, that's that's dogma. That's what's been told to people to control them. This is what when you give people that, heaven in the sky, heaven after you die, hell trying to give people fear. They give people that stuff to control them, to make people easy to control because, people who are fearful are easy to control. People who are superstitious are easy to control. That's why it's called the Moorish Science Temple of America. Think, right? This is the truth. Here's the instructions. Now take it or leave it. If it's too much for you, gone somewhere. If you can take the responsibility of understanding that you create your own heaven or hell, then this is for you. Islam, I yield the floor to you, Chairman. Islam.
Islam. Just wanted to come back on that too. If you think the works of Jesus and the 12 steps, and also like what God that man usually worship, this is a deep thought. I've been contemplating this for a couple of weeks. A brother from the Bahamas had brought that to me because he was deeply into the Christianity and he said it was all kind of false because they kind of scared him into that growing up. He the same age as us, most people 45. And his thing was and he knew about a lot of it when it comes to the Holy Bible, but he was like, if you really think about it, what was Jesus, our brother man? What was he really doing? What was his God that was in him like? And he was telling everybody and why he got crucified versus the God that what the government and everybody else told. And then you can kind of see the difference and then you kind of see within yourself. That's why uh prophet always tells us to know thyself first. You know what I'm saying? Because what God are you following in this world when you knowing yourself? There's no right or wrong in that. It's just you gotta understand that when you thinking of that. But then when you thinking of more science, you go a little bit deeper into that. And that's deeper when you go taking deeper steps, you know what I'm saying, further on. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, brother. Islam. Gratitude for dropping that too. And so all of this is being shared with us, given to us so that we can realize our true potential. All right. Now, going to verse 1 in chapter 44, it says, just right off bat, feeble and insufficient as thou art, O man, in good, frail and inconsistent as thou art in pleasure. Yet there is a thing in which thou art strong and unshaken. Its name is misery. Like when you read this, it sounds like the prophet is trying to roast us. He checking us. He like, look, feeble and insufficient as thou art in good. Right? There's one thing thou art strong and unshaken, and his name is misery. Right? But it goes much deeper than that. Right? The prophet is exposing the truth. He's setting the tone. This is the truth. Humanity finds consistency in misery more than in righteousness or joy. A person will walk into a room, they got it made, they got a million things to be grateful for, and they will search that room like a freaking detective to find something to complain about. Has anybody ever done this? Raise your hand. Has anyone ever experienced this? Right? Feeble and
Islam.
insufficient as thou art in good, man. We finding stuff to be upset about. Islam, I yield the floor to the sister. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. First and foremost, I'd like to rise and give perfect praise to our Father God Allah, honors to his Prophet Noble Dry Ali, honors to the forerunner, the harbinger, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik, our brother Emily Ill, honors to our Supreme and all of our leadership and all of you Muslims on the call, Islam. I just want to talk about those first lines because it is definitely misery loves company. We all heard that saying, and everyone in the world says that same saying, so it got to be true. Islam. So misery is a strong and unshaken For some reason, it's easy to find pleasure in misery. And that is a part of our lower nature. It gratifies the lower self. So, but Allah gave us the reason. He gave us something called reason to stop misery. And that is a beautiful thing because we can stomp out that miserable energy when we notice it. So these keys help us to point those negative energies, especially the strong ones like misery. We could stomp that out as soon as we notice it. And how do we stomp those out? Those energies out, right? We got the tools of the workshop of the mind, and we got our principles. And our highest principle is love. So it's as simple as that. We stomp it out with love. Islam, because as Muslims, we do not serve the energy of shame and will not feel comfortable in that low frequency. So there's something in us, that spirit man, that seed that's in us that lets us know it. We have radars, we detect where it is, where it's coming from, you know, and it's up to us to recognize it and pull out ASAP as soon as we recognize it, and that comes from having to check ourselves. Islam, our emotions have to be corrected when we realize that we're dwelling in misery. Islam, and that's why we got to follow the prophet out of the cares and the worries of the world and use these lessons to save ourselves. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, sister, what's the quote the prophet said when it comes to defeating the lower self?
Well, we have to subdue the lower self.
Islam, it was a measure. It was saying every time that we subdue the lower self is like a victory on the higher self. It was a measure I was reading, and it was something about that. Islam.
Islam, we're gonna have to pull that up, brother.
Islam. Let's pull that quote up, so we can go back to it.
Islam, 'cause the prophet said it because the Supreme Grand Sheikh says it a lot. The what? Oh, I'm trying to remember it. It's man, I forget. It's something that goes with every every accomplishment when you beat the lower self. I'm trying to remember it. Like it builds character on the higher self. So like when you subdue the lower self, every time that you subdue the lower self, you you build confidence and stripe on your character on your higher self. Your higher self goes to a higher plane in that building in that 12 step of that ladder. But I'm trying to remember the direct quote. It's
Islam, you definitely level up. That's like on the video games when you get the big man, when when you get the extra life.
Islam, are you talking about belief, faith, fruition?
Islam, I believe so.
All right, yeah. So definitely, um, you know, any work that we do towards developing our higher virtues, it further unfolds a lot in us. It unfolds more of our higher nature. That's one of the keys to doing this work. Morris, I believe there was this brother Jackson Bay's idea to make the calendar showing all of the virtues. We need to go ahead and put the work to get that done. So it's simple so that we can just see it and we can work on it. And we can work on one virtue every month. Just, saying that on the side so that we can get on that because we could do that, in like 2, 3 days. but make it so that it's actually a tool we can work on. And hey, we simplify it. We just work on one virtue a month. But yeah, yeah, that's the best way to go about doing it too, keeping it simple and just working on, one a month. We just gonna focus on, X for this month. We'll do Y next month, and we just keep doing it. Every time we go over it, we get stronger and more powerful, better. We increase, and that's really what it's about. And so even with this chapter on misery, right? The prophet is pointing these things that we do out so that we can work on it and so that we can bring it to an end. He's not pointing this out so we see how weak and feeble we are. He's pointing out what makes us weak and feeble. So the last thing we should be doing is getting up in the morning, we looking for something to be miserable about. Walking into a room, we looking for fault in people. We looking for something to complain about. Just looking. That's what we good at looking at. That's what we're good at looking for and bringing about. And it's not like it's just one of us. All of us are capable of doing this. So no one should be sitting here thinking, I don't do that. Because if you're thinking that, you probably do it more than anyone else. You're just unaware. So this is pointing this out at the human level, like, hey, this everybody needs to work on, right? This is the truth. Humanity finds consistency in misery more than being consistent in joy, just being happy, right? Buddha taught that life is suffering. They called it dukkha or dukkha, right? But when he was saying life is suffering, a lot of people don't really understand. They're just like, oh, human life is suffering, right? No, he was trying to let people know that, you're not just suffering because it's your fate to suffer. He's saying your attachment, your ignorance, how you approach life. This is suffering. We create our own misery, right? So what we want to do then is to start to recognize our own patterns. See how we, keep bringing about pain. We rehearse pain. How often do we go straight to the problems in our mind, right? Instead of recognizing what we have to express gratitude for in our lives. We're not looking for the gratitude like that lady on that meme. We're not looking for the gratitude. We look, what's wrong? What'd you do? How can I get on that? I don't like this. I don't like that. We're looking for the stuff that we don't like. What the heck is wrong with, I guess you could say us. What is wrong? Why are you looking for the stuff you don't like? Instead of recognizing what we have to express gratitude for. So that's why it's saying feeble and insufficient as thou art, oh man, and good. Right? But the only thing that you're strong in is misery. We have to correct that. We have to observe our thoughts on a daily basis. We have to see how often they're rooted in lack, how often they're rooted in regret. If you find yourself looking back on what you did, I regret that. Why are you thinking about that mess? Leave it in the past. In the scriptures, in the Bible, when they give the story of oh gosh, what's his name? Was it Lot and his wife? Yeah, yeah. And yeah, when Lot's wife, they're giving instructions by the angels who's gonna destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Understand this ain't about some place with these people. These are all mental states. These are all things that all humans go through. So all of that stuff is just representative of different mental states. So when they're getting these divine instructions from the angels, do not look back. Just go forward. That means don't look back in the past or you will get stuck. And so when Lot and his wife are looking forward, they're marching towards their new destination, and his wife turns around and looks back. Oh, let me see the destruction. She turned into a pillar of salt, and we've spoken about this here before. Why did she turn into a pillar of salt? Because salt is a preservative. We ain't know nothing. Wasn't nobody teaching us this stuff. We had to go almost all the way around the world to Brazil, where they're still using salt to preserve fish and beef and other types of meat in the open markets. So they got meat and stuff that's just laying out there for days, and it's not going bad. It's not rotting because they preserve it. They cover the whole thing in salt. Right? It's so salty, If you get like the saltfish or something, you got to boil it a whole bunch of times to get rid of all that salt before you can cook it. But they put that salt on there to preserve it. So when Lot's wife turns into a pillar of salt, she becomes preserved in her past conditions. You're not supposed to be looking back, right? It's like the prophet is smacking you when you're looking back. Like, why are you looking back, silly? You're going to be stuck like that. If you don't like that, if those are bad conditions, why are you looking for it? Nobody's telling you to look back. You want to see it. I like the misery. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm strong. Right? So it's like, come on. We raising up. So we giving that up. And in verse 2, it is the character of thy being, the prerogative of thy nature. In thy breast alone it resideth. Without thee there is nothing of it. And behold, what is its source but thine own passions? So our own passions, our own lower carnal desires. That's what causes our own misery. When you look at the words of Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, he says, desire and anger arise from the Rajas guna. They are born of passion, right? This misery is not some fate. It's not something that you destined to be messed up. No, it's fueled by unchecked emotion. My passions, my desires. That could be a song. This society, this Western society, so lame. They'll turn that into a song, have somebody doing it in auto-tune, talking about my passions, my desires, and just be talking about lower passions and desires to push that message, to keep everybody stuck on that low vibratory rate, right? So this misery is not something that we all have to go through. We create it when we're out of control, when we do not have discipline. So yeah, once again, going back to what we said about verse 1, we want to observe our daily thoughts. We want to see where these thoughts are coming from. Are they rooted in lack? Are they coming from, lack, pain, regret? We need to start checking that stuff. Are we coming from anger, from lust, from pride? All that stuff leads to unnecessary suffering. So we want to do this, and the reason we would journal our thoughts is so that we can begin to do the work to control and contain our own ego, because that's what causes the misery. And that's what it says in verse 3. He who gave these, right, talking about this misery, these lower desires and passions, these carnal thoughts, he who gave thee these gave thee also reason to subdue them. Exert it, and thou shalt trample them under thy feet. Meaning, once again, we are not victims. Hang on, pardon, Morris. We are not victims. Now, in actuality, all humans are not victims, but I'm speaking specifically to Moorish American Muslims. We are not victims. Allah gifted us with will and intellect. So Elohim created this carnal self to present a challenge for us to rise up and subdue it and be the strength of Allah made manifest. But we have the gifts, we have the ability, the capability to overcome these challenges. We must use the will and the intellect. We can't be uncontrolled beast, just going off of emotions and desires, right? When you look in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it identifies will as divine faculty, the executive power of mind. So we have to exercise this divine wisdom, this discipline, not to give in to these lower passions and desires, right? You can practice affirmations too to call upon this higher aspect of yourself. Just if saying, affirmations, things you can say out loud, which is powerful, or just do in your mind. You can tell yourself that you govern your passions with divine reason. And if you're saying this to yourself with conviction, you believe it, you will start to have more control over your carnal mind. Just because you're telling yourself this with confidence. All right. And so, yeah, just wanted to share that. That's something that we can all do, we can all practice. I'm gonna skip around, pretty much skip around. I'm to the end of this chapter. It's an important chapter though, but I don't want to take up too much time. But before we do that though, just going back to verse 1, right? So this chapter, it's not just about, being sad, right? Feeling down. This is going into ancient teachings. This is giving us the science of self-mastery. It is giving us divine tools so that we can transform human suffering, transform it into enlightenment. All right? So it's not just about being sad. It shows us how to turn our own thoughts and passions, like to control them. Because when we're out of control, our thoughts and passions are used against us. So this is first educating us about that, letting us know about our true nature. And then the prophet is like a spiritual psychologist because he's unveiling the truth. And the truth is radical. The truth ain't something they're going to tell you on TV. They're not going to tell you this anywhere. Even some of these people that are supposed to be so spiritual and supposed to know all this stuff, they're not even telling you this on YouTube. They ain't talking about it. When this is the most important stuff. Who cares about all this stuff? You could go on and on and on about what's going on in the past, in the history, and all this stuff. People talk about so much stuff. But if you're not talking about the basics, how we can really improve our life, how we can make our children's lives greater, how we can be better examples, right? If we're not talking about the truth, the root, who cares about all that other mess, right? And then half the people teaching that mess, their life is out of control. So going back to this, man, the prophet shows us how man creates his own misery. And it's because we're ignorant of divine law. That brings imbalance into our lives. So in verse 1, once again, when it's saying there's one thing that man is strong and unshaken in, and that's misery. That's the ironic, like truth, right? That's something that most of us aren't even aware of. We perpetuate our own suffering. But he don't just say that and drop the mic and walk off. He's giving us the tools on how to undo that. So if the source of suffering is revealed to be our unchecked passions, now we need the tools on how to get that stuff in check. It's letting you know that misery is not just something that just happens. It's not something that's coming from the world and people trying to kick you while you're down. It's internal. When we're undisciplined, when we're not being governed by the spirit, like, our brother, our chairman was saying earlier, when you speak and when you're speaking the truth, you're speaking from the higher self. It's not you. We can't even take credit for it. So when we're not being governed by the spirit, guess who's in control? The lower self, and the lower self is traveling the earth to and fro, seeking whom it may devour. Islam, I yield the floor back to our chairman.
Islam Grand Sheik, this is a great demonstration. We are on fire. I just wanted to just camel back and just throw in chapter 41. Just on one measure on chapter 41 on one. Nature urged thee in constancy, O man, guard. Therefore, guard thyself at all times against it. And then when you go into two, we like how you had just said that, what I'm saying, it is kind of in us. Thou art from thy womb of thy mother various and wavering from the lines of thy father inherit instability. How then shall thou be firm? So even then, so when we understand this as Moorish Americans, we thinking on 44 on misery and on 41. You got to also understand we can't beat ourselves up, but we got to understand it comes from within. And then our mothers and fathers have mothers and fathers, and their mothers and fathers have mothers and fathers, and so forth and so forth, and etc. So it comes, and we got to contemplate all that while we going through this and uplifting. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, brother, and gratitude for dropping that truth. All right. And so the prophet didn't just come and say these things and then just drop the mic and walk off. Like, look, y'all weak. This is why y'all weak. Y'all weak. and just tell us how we fallen short, and then just go off. We're giving the instructions on how to undo this, how to unfold our true nature, right? First, he had to point it out to us because we don't even realize it, right? When you look in the Holy Quran of Mecca, chapter 45, verse 23, it's speaking about this condition. It says, have you seen he who takes as his God his own desire? Right? Right? When our passion is not being checked, is not being mastered by reason, by divine faculties, right? Now that's why the lower self is Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, because it's turning our own thoughts against us. Our thoughts help to create our reality, and it's being used against us. Okay? So this gift of reason, because remember, he who gave thee these, right, gave thee also the reason to subdue them. So this gift of reason, then, is a tool that we can use to redeem ourselves. So the prophet is speaking directly to us. Like, okay, Muslim, you have to submit to the will of Allah. You can't be under control of the carnal mind. So this verse is calling us. We have to awaken, the Christ within. We have to raise up that Christ energy, right? Because this being out of control, not even being aware that our passions and desires are creating our misery. That's why we're stuck, in this endless cycle, ups and downs. So he's given us the tools to turn all that around, right? To change our reality for the better, right? And it's letting us know, this stuff is going on in the world, but regardless of what's going on in the world, regardless of what's happening around you, you control it all. You control at least your reality, right? You can change it. Nobody else has control over that. I'm gonna skip all the way down to verse 20. All right, and wrap this up. We won't want to take a whole bunch of time. So getting in here, verse 20 says, the thought of affliction. Wait, hold up. I skipped all the way down. All right, pardon. It says, man foreseeth the evil that is to come. He remembereth it when it is past. He considereth not that the thought of affliction woundeth deeper than the affliction itself. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee, and thou shalt avoid what most hurt thee. Right? So just in that alone, right, this reversing, the cycle that most people is going through. We suffer more in your imagination than in reality. All of us do. Right? It's an illusion. Right? Anticipated pain, thinking that things are going to come, they're going to go wrong or whatever. So, we don't want to be stuck in that cycle. This is where most of humanity is, not even being aware that they're creating their reality, right? We want to be in the present. We don't want to be, creating things in our thoughts in our head that makes our own reality worse, right? Then going to verses Islam, going to verse 21 and 22. He who weepeth before he needeth, weepeth more than he needeth. And why? But that he loveth weeping. Once again, that whole, we looking for misery. We making it worse in our own head, and we're going to create that worse. You done locked it in for yourself by thinking about how bad it's going to get. The stag weepeth not till the spear is lifted against him, nor do the tears of the beaver fall till the hound is ready to seize him. Man anticipated death by the apprehension of it, and the fear is greater misery than the event itself. Right? And we're being compared to a beast that bleeds before the wound. Like the stag, bleeding before even been, shot or something like that. Right? So, we're not supposed to be stuck in this anticipation, this fear, this worry. Right? This is going back to the power of the mind and the misery of the mind. We create our own reality. So, spiritually, metaphysically, thoughts create reality, and that's the real reality that most people are unaware of. So when we're dominated by fear, worry, anticipating the worst, we're going to bring it about. And that's also why you'll see all the movies about the zombie apocalypse, about things getting worse. They put out a movie, I believe it was just last year, that Civil War movie. Y'all saw that? It's showing a Civil War movie. They had a character like the president, Trump-like character, I guess, that, you know, people wanted to take out, and everything's falling apart and broke out in a civil war. There's some people that actually want that to happen, and they have access to resources, and they're like, hey, let's make a movie about it. Let's get everybody hyped up about it, right? And they make a whole lot of stuff like that so that people are operating on fear, worried. And you and I, if we think like that, will actually bring about something messed up into our reality. If we're thinking about that stuff and putting emotions into it. All right. So this is, unlocking a profound law. This is divine law. This is spiritual law. We become what we continually think about, and we draw towards ourselves these experiences that we're dwelling upon, right, in thought. If we're thinking about it, we're going to create it. Why? Because, like, once we put emotion behind it too, it becomes like a spiritual magnet. The more we're fearing something, the more we're drawing it to us, the more we're connecting with that frequency of fear or whatever it is. And that's why it's telling us, get away from that, right? We're actually shaping the outcome, especially if you really fear, because that means you think it's going to happen. You think it's a possibility, right? So, this is moving us out of that, getting us to trust in Allah, right? Getting us to raise our thoughts up to divine wisdom, to a higher level. When we look in the Bible, in the scriptures, in Proverbs 23, verse 7, it says, as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. When you go to Job 3, verse 25, it says, for the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. Right? That's one translation of it. But yeah, Job was a prophet, and he's talking about how the thing he feared is now come upon him. Right? And so both of those verses are, basically validating that the thoughts that we take on, that we become emotionally attached to, they actually have the power to bring about those outcomes. So if you claim you don't want that, don't even think about it. Think on a higher level. Buddha said, what you dwell upon, you become. Right? Buddha said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. What does it say on the nationality card? We recognize all true and divine prophets. Right? It just mentions a few. They're not the only ones. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. So remember that. Buddha said, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. All right. And he also taught that the root of suffering is attachment. We become attached to this stuff, and boom, now you're living. Right. So we want to raise our thoughts up to a higher level. All right. We do not want to be controlled by fear. This is key for all Moorish American Muslims. We all need to take this on. We have to, take control of our thoughts, take control of our reality. All right. And if you're fearing something, if you're fearing suffering, if you're fearing, being broke poor, that's like meditating on it. And then imagine if we're doing that, but we're not even meditating, on a higher level. Right. So we meditating on the stuff that we don't want. Right. It's just like we walk in a room, you finding things to complain about, argue about, like on the negative level, being consistent in that. That's why it said that in the very first verse. That's what we are consistent in. We're strong and unshakable in misery. Feeble and insufficient as thou art, O man, and good. We don't want to meditate and pray even for 10 minutes. But we got like 10,000 things that's wrong that we will think about throughout the day. Stuff that we don't want. We have to rise it up. We have to raise it up to a higher level more. All of us. The prophet put this in here to warn us and to ease us into, raising our vibration, raising up to a higher level and taking responsibility Hey, I do create this. Don't be a victim. Don't blame stuff on others anymore. Raise it up to a higher level. That's what we're being called upon to do. All right. Pardon, I did just put the phone on mute because it was like feedback or something. But just moving forward. Um, well, I'll end it off with verse 23. Be always prepared to give an account of thine action, and the best death is that which is least premeditated. Okay, so being called upon to give an account for thine action, being prepared at all times. This is also raising us up to a higher level because this is getting us to a point where we don't have to prepare for death. We don't have to get ready. Oh, I'm about to make the transition. I need to, I need like in the for the regular person, a lot of people, at the hospital, they'll have like priest or whatever at the hospital. Why? Because people are dying and hey, I need to talk to the priest. And if it's like a Catholic priest, they gotta confess their sins and do all this stuff. And maybe because the life they were living, they didn't really try their best. They didn't give their best shot, and so they got to get ready to die. But this is this instruction in here, verse 23. This is like the creed for the masterminds, for the adepts, to be present, to be aligned with truth, right? The higher self. And when we're doing that, then we don't have to plan for death, right? We're always righteous in all moments. So they know, oh man, I think I'm gonna go to hell. I need to get right. I got like 3 hours left. Nah, we ready. You ain't over here walking around trying to get killed, but you're good. You did a good job. You didn't do your worst. So they know I got to get ready to die. Nah, forget all that, right? Live the life at all times. And also going back to the instructions on, controlling our own thoughts. Do this at all times. Do the work to govern our own thoughts. Govern from divine insight. Govern from divine wisdom. Then there's no need to escape. There's no need to escape. There's no need to get ready at the last second. Because now we're reclaiming our divine dominion over everything, over all in our lives. So this is really, truly preparing us for a higher level. Like we the architects of our existence, our experience, right? And it's giving us the work to do to make that reality. All right. So just wrapping that up with, actual instructions we can take from this. Don't overlook any of this, Morris. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying this is divine wisdom for real. Right? So, instructions. We want to exercise discipline over our thoughts. We want to raise our vibration up to a higher level. So, instruction 1, guard your thoughts on a regular basis. Take responsibility. Like ask yourself what you're doing throughout the day. Don't just throw grenades. I know John Morant, when he like score, he throw grenades out into the crowd. Don't do that. Don't throw the grenade and then cover your ear. Like when you do something, take responsibility for it. If you start in trouble, if you're looking for things that's wrong, how things could be worse. If you're looking for stuff that's wrong, take responsibility and stop doing that. Ask on a daily basis whether we moving from this negative aspect or if we moving from the higher aspect. Are we moving from fear? Are we moving from all this negative stuff? Or are we going to a higher level? And then, and that's on one level, but then also even the stuff that you're not saying out loud, that you're not telling other people, the stuff that we're just thinking in our head. If you're imagining something, it's making it worse. If you're imagining, the money not coming through this month, if you're imagining anything that you don't really want to happen, stop. Man, this is going to sound crazy to you, but sometimes I yell that stuff out loud. Right? I got that from this dude. There's a brother. He He does like motivational speeches and stuff. His name's Steven. If I find that later, I'll share it in the group. But he's good, teaching. But like for real, if I'm having a negative thought, I might just like I'll sound crazy over here. So I'm like cancel, just out loud because I'm not entertaining that mess. You know, and sometimes it's not even good enough to just say it in my own head. That's why I'm saying you might not want to do that. But I'm saying like if it's happening, stop it right then and there. Don't even think it. It's not just the stuff that we say, also the thoughts, right? Stop it right there in its tracks. Okay? And we want to, we want to be present. We want to be aware. You don't want to be, anchored in the past. You don't want to be thinking about the stuff that you didn't like. You don't want to be with somebody and you worried about they gonna cheat on you. You worried about something from the past. We want to be anchored in the present. We don't want to be thinking back to, I didn't have money and this is like that. And we acting out of lack and limitation. We don't want to be stuck in any, situations that we didn't actually enjoy. Okay. And we want to replace all that negative stuff, fear and thoughts like that. We want to replace that with affirmations this is how we train ourselves. Whether you're saying these things out loud to yourself, I put this stuff in the chat. I would advise everybody, copy that. Copy that right now. Text it to yourself. Send it to yourself on Messenger or something. Send it to, put it in the group. Right? But I'm saying that because okay, the affirmations, whether you're saying it out loud or saying this in your head on a regular basis, you're programming yourself. And I advise everybody to program themselves. If you're thinking programming, you're thinking that's negative, look, everybody's getting programmed. That's why they call TV programming. They call television programming, radio programming. The radio stations have a program director. So everybody's putting out a program. So if you're not programming yourself, like we're scientists, we're more scientists. If you're not programming yourself, you're just collecting all these other programs. It's not for your greater good. So yeah, the affirmation, you're repeating this to yourself. You're programming yourself for the greater good to bring about your higher aspects. All right. And that's really all I wanted to share on that. I just think it's important to understand what the prophet was saying in here. He's not condemning us, telling us how weak we are. He's awakening us and giving us a mirror so we can see the true self. Right? Now we see the veil. Now we can see behind it. All right? And that's the science of self-mastery. You can't not know about the dark side. You tell me about the good stuff. Tell me how great I am. Right? But we ain't really great. Just tell me how great I am. I want to hear about some stuff I ain't heard before. Like, come on, man. Let's work on the basics. Let's master this. Islam, I yield the floor to our chairman.
Islam Grand Sheik, and this definitely was a great measure on a holy day. At this time, I would like to open the floor for any questions or announcements before we go into the closing of the meeting.
Islam, I like to rise and give Allah the highest of praises and extend honors to our Prophet Noble Jew Ali and extend honors to all the Moors on the call. So I do have a question. In our divine constitution and bylaws, Act number 5 made me think, and I never asked this question before. So like like in the country of China, the nationality of the people in China is called Chinese, and that nation or country is called China. So basically, when it says the Moorish Science Temple when it says this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that made me think. So I like to know plain like what exactly what is the name of our nation? Is it like Moorish American or Moorish America? So I never really thought about like what exactly is the name of our nation. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam, brother, great question. Morris American. And let's break down Act 5 real quick. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Prophet, because again, before it goes into effect, and this is the Constitution and bylaws that he had brought into Chicago, Illinois. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the government, but to obey hereby. This comes from because of being Islamic. Say if you are in the Middle East and we're Islamic, whatever country does whatever they do in the Middle East, if you're visiting that country, you have to obey by that hereby. Say, like for instance, if you're in the country to where women can't have the rights that men have in an Islamic country, then you, as an Islamic person, you have to obey by that hereby, and that's global. That's just being Islamic. Islam, I yield the floor.
All right, Islam, I'd like to revise. So you said our nation is called Moorish American. So I thought that like our nationality is Moorish American from the 101s. And so I was trying to figure out so our nationality and our nationality and the name of our nation is the same exact name. So I know like a lot of countries, like like how you have like the Turkish people, their nation is called Turkey, or like what I'm saying, like I was saying, like the Chinese people, their nation is called China. And so I was just basically feeling that. So basically, it's more.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what
it's
I was trying to figure out.
Islam. Oh, we were Moroccans. You know,
Right?
well, I mean, we're Moorish Americans, but our we're Moroccans. We're just we're descendants from northwest and southwestern shores of Africa.
Okay, so Moroccans is our is the name of our nation. So I know I'm being detailed, but
Mm.
I just like to know.
Oh, the
Last
nation.
calendar.
Oh, Islam. I yield the floor.
Hi, brother. I rise to the highest heights of all. Give all praises due to Allah and our Prophet and all my fellow brother Moors, sister Moors on the call. I think the brother's trying to speak about, how you have, we're in America, so we're Moorish Americans, but you have those that are, say, like in Brazil or Cuba, there will be of same stature, but of a different name, but we're all the same. So like we're Moorish Americans, there'd be like Moorish Cuban or from France, Moorish France or Moorish German on that aspect. We all ancient Moabite Canaanites, and we are known as Moroccans. But that's just going by try to figure, basically kind of basic saying for each different region or each different country. Like we're American, we're Moorish American, we have the Moorish Chinese in that form of manner. In that form, then the Moorish Chinese will follow the government rules in China, but they are Moorish Chinese. They can't even say they are Moorish Americans. So they'd be Moorish, they're still Moors, but they're Moorish Chinese or still Asiatics. That yields the floor.
Yeah, Islam. So that threw like a little bit more. So it's like when you were saying Cuban, so basically like Cuba's their Cuban is like their not Cuban is their nationality, but their nation is Cuba. So I know things might be a little bit different with us. And so like everybody has like a nation that's similar to their nationality, like all over the planet. So I was trying to say like literally like what name we same as like we had our own country completely. Like we had our own country and everything was done. What would be the name of the nation? That's what I was trying
Islam.
to figure out.
Islam, brother, but they wouldn't. They nation wouldn't be Cuban though. They're just Cuban because of the name of the country. Like we're American because of the name of the country being Americans. This is the land that we are standing on. And but as far as Moorish can be of different penal codes, like what the brother was saying earlier. Like a Chinese person can be a Moorish Chinese person, and and other ones in that aspect. But in the region that you're in, just be like kind of like land wise, we're in the land of America, and our descents came from that aspect. Unless we have any descent that where, like, say, like for instance, if you had any people from different areas, then you can be like, okay, well, those people, because phenotypically Moors are phenotypically have a certain way. From what I was told from the Supreme Grand Sheik, there is only two uh nations, and it's the Moors and the Europeans. Islam. So I yield the floor.
Islam. I wanted to chime in on this too. Now I believe just from talking to several sheiks that they also agree with this as well, and I'll explain why briefly. Now, when we look at what the prophet brought to us in chapter 45, it speaks in verse 1, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and to know their higher and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. All Moorish Americans, etc. Right? So there's others that's included in that. Other what? Other Asiatics. If somebody is Mexican and they want to join the Moorish Science Temple of America, they can join. They're Asiatic. And they could be of Moabite um lineage like us, but they also might be Moabite and Amorite or something else, some other Asiatic lineage, right? So it doesn't matter, Asiatic. People from because we're in North America, and all of these people are here, right? Haitians, Jamaicans, Cubans. When we keep going on, Brazilians, like we could just keep going on. There's a lot of Asiatic people here. They're all of these people are part of it. There's like members of the Moorish Science Temple of America of all this stuff that we've named. Like one of the meetings either in Chicago, I believe. No, that was not in Chicago. It was in Philadelphia. One of the brothers, I believe, he's the Grand Sheik of one of the temples in New York. He's Panamanian, right? Look just like a brother from Detroit or Harlem or somewhere like that. He's Panamanian, and we just simplify it. The prophet simplified it. This is for the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. Right? All of those Asiatics, they're all here. And so we are the Asiatic states of North America. This is also going to the prophet's words. When you go to his first letter to all governors, grand sheiks, and head officials of all temples, says, by the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, it means listen up. Right? The founder of our nation is speaking. He has said the following thing during our very first convention. Now, they had delegates from all these different states that were there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was to organize to play a useful and defined part. Right? It's a part. It's a useful and defined part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship, as the Moorish Divine National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America on May 1st, 1916. As this will have been our very first convention, most interesting one ever held in the city, it was featured by delegates from 15 different states, right? So, in my understanding, I'll yield the floor, and also, several other sheiks agree with this as well. It's the Asiatic states of North America. That includes all the people, they could be members of the temple here, because that's how we come in. Through us, we proclaim our nationality, and we are working like the Moorish Divine National Movement. It's this organization that the Moorish Science Temple is a part of, that was founded for the uniting of this Asiatic states of North America. And that's why the prophet also mentions this in chapter 5. He says the Asiatic nation of North America, but it's the uniting of the Asiatic states, right? That's the name of our nation, if you would ask me. And so, in somewhere like Cuba, maybe they would have, or in Mexico, because Mexico is the Estados Unidos Mexicanos. It's the United States of Mexico. Maybe in Mexico, they would have the Asiatic nation of Mexico. Maybe, in Ecuador, they would have that as well for them. But here in North America, it's the Asiatic states of North America. That's the actual name. You don't see it being prominent because we're putting things together. That'll be one of the last things that's declared, as we rise up, we're getting ourselves together. We're putting things together. We're building up our communities and economy. But yeah, I believe it's the Asiatic states of North America. And on that note, I yield the floor. And after you chime in, brother Hainzel, I saw the brother Yabe had his hand raised. Islam.
Yeah, Islam Grand Sheik. Yeah, so you answered my question perfectly. When I seen the Asiatic nation of North America, I was like, oh, that's what we're called. So it kind of like shot over my head, but now I see it. So as soon as I seen it, that's when I seen it. So that's what our nation is. We the Asiatic nation of North America. So I understand. So I do understand about the two nations, like the European nation and the Asiatic nation. So that's perfectly clear. So that's what I was trying to figure out. But I always read it, but I just didn't put two and two together until the brother was reading the divine law, divine constitution, the bylaws. So I completely understand. It just like shot past my eyes. All right, thank you.
Islam, and one real quick thing before I yield the floor to brother Yabe. We basically have dual nationality, but that's really like something that we not going around telling everybody. It's not like we ashamed or nothing. It's just that our nation's in disarray. It's not like being from Brazil, but you have citizenship here as well because maybe your parents were from here, right? Brazil got their stuff together. So you got dual nationality somewhere. You actually go to Brazil, they got their own towns and own government and all that stuff. Ours is we got to build it. But America is ours as well, and it's not just the Europeans. They're infighting and it's falling apart. This is ours, and we're not giving it up. And we have all the skills, and we have just as much potential as anybody else. So no, we're not giving it up. This is ours, right? So we not giving up America. This is ours, and yes, we're building up our nation as well, right? But our nation is like I think I said this in a previous class. It's more like a tribal government, right? It's in disarray. We have to build it up. Just keeping it real. But yeah, I believe it is the Asiatic states of North America. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, I rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praises to our Father God Allah. Honest to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honest to everybody on the floor. Honest to you, Grand Sheik. Honest for the brother Hainzel for his wonderful messages from his questions that he always asks. That's always thought provoking. Honest where honest is due. Um, this is a very interesting question, brother Hainzel, because if you ask 10 Moorish Americans, you'll probably get 10 different questions, 10 different answers, or you might get a couple is the same, but you'll get a lot of people that have a different understanding of the particular question. And I think this is one thing that we all should be in unison with. But I'm gonna give a brief thought from my studies. Now I'm gonna go into chapter 47, and I'm gonna utilize the 101s. First being stated that you said he was pointing out basically for all the peoples around the world that utilize their nationality. They point to say, well, they're Cuban, or they say that they're Algerian or whatever they're using. It gives you a particular area. Pretty much the nation is synonymous, the people is synonymous with the land, right? Well, if we go back, like the prophet taught us and showed us, this right here is the Moroccan Empire. And empires are multiple nations. So, this is from my demonstration. Chapter 47 states that the Moabites from the land of Canaan, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit in Northwest Africa. Stop. I know that the Grand Sheik did demonstrations many a times about us coming over here way before the great earthquake and had correspondence with those pharaohs showing that this right here was the Moroccan Empire at one time, and to some, even in the present day. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. So, stating that those Moabites are and was the true possessors of the Moroccan Empire. And if you look up empire, empire has multiple nations within it, which will combined with what the Grand Sheik was talking about before. So you got Moroccan, Moabite, and then And in the 101s, it'll give you the brief breakdown of Moroccan. So 31. What is the modern day for Moabites? Moroccans. So that right there lets you know from that point that we, as Moorish Americans, we're the Moabites. And even in chapter 45, it states that as well, that we're the Moabites. Here in the 101 states that the Moabites are the Moroccans. And here it also states that the Moroccans or the Moabites is the true possessions of the Moroccan Empire, which connects you to the Moroccan Empire as Moabites and Moroccans, which are Moorish, which ties you into a nation in present time and in ancient time. Islamism. Thank you for the floor.
Great demonstration.
Islam and gratitude, everyone, for sharing, demonstrating. Pardon.
Islam. Is there any other questions or announcements before we go into the closing of the meeting? And again, that was definitely a great demonstration, brother. Islam. Without further ado, I would like to announce we're going into the closing of the meeting. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather, divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moors movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Islam. And we will be going to activate again into that Holy Quran, that good book, the divine instructions, the covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land which thy Lord, thy God Allah have given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright. Because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefather, ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. You know they say that a lot, and the prophet says this a lot. I just wanted to stop there and read it one more time. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you may learn to love instead of hate in our five principal creeds. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and to know of his higher and lower self. This is uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instructions for all Moorish Americans, etc. All the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree. Uniting of Asia. Islam, Islam, Islamism. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7. In love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If y'all are all able to, can we please rise and face the east for the closing prayer? Again, 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, cactus pose, feet in a 90-degree angle, stand on our square. You do not have to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefather divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name, in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned. Peace and love, Muslims. Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day, Muslims. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Happy
Islam
holy day.
family, happy holy day.